I want to pay particular tribute to Adam Richins for the huge amount of work him and his team have put in to preparing us for this particular budget and this particular day. He's led a robust discussion over the last 7 months and has always been extremely professional. And I want to thank also the rest of the senior management team and also my fellow cabinet colleagues. It's truly been a Herculean task, and I can safely say that there has been blood, sweat and tears, the blood being from a nosebleed I once had, but that's about it. This 24-25 budget recommends the maximum council tax allowed by central government. For a council which gets a pittance from central government, it was a financial illiteracy to waive 2.43% from council tax across a 2-year period, 21 to 23. As a direct consequence of that act, this budget has had to cut badly needed services by £6 million. This budget contains a net £38 million of savings, efficiencies, reductions in services and additional charges. There is no sugarcoating that can hide the depths to which this council has had to trawl to recover from the legacy it inherited from the previous administration and from the austerity imposed by the Conservative government. This Broadhead Mellor legacy included a £30 million structural deficit filled for the last 3 years only by raiding reserves, dodgy beach hut schemes, unidentified transformational savings, to say nothing of an unsustainable debt-ridden regeneration company, a ballooning debt threshold, a flashing red auditor's report stating that they didn't believe BCP could balance its budgets, and successive government inspections all reporting what we already knew, that the last administration was on an irresponsible and debt-fueled ego trip. None of us, and no one else, should underestimate that some savings come at significant cost to service users. However, there are many services which have been protected and strengthened. We rejected the closure of all day centres. We rejected the elimination of all grants to cultural organisations. We rejected the cutting of all CSAS officers and all community engagement. And we rejected cutting all regeneration work and the climate change budget. In addition to the £44 million deficit we inherited, we also got landed with an additional £6 million from an unfunded increase in the national living wage and a near £2 million cut in our financial settlement, tempered, of course, by our last-ditch £3.6 million handout ahead of the local elections. In Appendix 5A, a detailed list of savings, which includes increases in fees and charges of £7.4 million, service efficiencies of £13.8 million, transformational savings of £13.8 million, and service reductions now down to £3 million. It is important to note that we have set aside some one-off contingent fundings to enable some of these savings to be achieved over a period of about 12 months, which will enable them to be achieved with care. The elephant in the room, of course, sits front and centre in the executive summary. We can do our bit and balance the general fund budget in a sustainable and responsible way, but if the government continues to underfund SEND services, then the finances of BCP and huge numbers of other councils will collapse. Extending the waiver solves absolutely nothing. Nonetheless, we must continue to reluctantly play along with the government safety valve scheme, and that means having a detailed plan to limit the high needs expenditure projections. Schools and local councils cannot bear the brunt of central government's failure to fund this service. This budget carries significant risks, not least in delivering the projected savings, clearing up the mess of future places, dealing with the liquidation of Carter's Quay, amongst many other things, all of which are noted in detail in the Section 25 report. As a result of these risks, we have prudently set aside adequate contingencies which enables BCP to move forward, look audit and government inspectors in the eye and proclaim that BCP have turned a corner. No more flying by the seat of our pants, no more dodgy deals, no more vanity projects, just open, honest, careful and prudent accounting, which brings confidence to our residents, confidence to our employees, confidence to our auditors, and confidence to the government inspectors. Until these risks are managed, we cannot afford to lose any grip on the financial restraints that we've imposed. As a result of significant political pressure, the government, of course, have provided BCP an additional assumed annual funding of £3.68 million, in addition to a one-off fund of £500,000. They have directed that these funds be spent relieving councils' pressures, particularly on children and adults. We have set out in the addendum where we consider the priorities of this administration are. We have specifically listened to the residents the results of the consultations and acted on the views of local residents. We have released the worst effects of the service reductions we were forced to impose. Nearly £1 million has been added back to children's services. £1 million has been used to lessen the effects of the community facilities review, which bore the brunt of the budget reductions in order to spare adult and children's services in the first place. £400,000 has been added to housing and communities, increasing funds for public protection and engagement. £350,000 has been used to establish a ward improvement fund to provide £8,000 per two-member ward and £12,000 per three-member ward to help each and every councillor make a positive contribution to their own community, with the proviso, of course, that this is done in consultation with residents. And a further £250,000 has been set aside to lessen the effects of the changes on the daycare services. In respect of the one-off funds, we are proposing setting aside £100,000 as a bridge to enable the establishment of the prospective accommodation bid, which will generate circa £2 to £3 million to spend on sporting events and initiatives to promote BCP, an extremely healthy return on investment. In addition, we will use the rest to kickstart a revitalisation of our town centres to be agreed with stakeholders in each of our town centres. £180,000 in Bournemouth, £120,000 in Poole, £60,000 in Christchurch. When this administration took office, BCP was the top tip for being issued a Section 114 notice, not least by its own auditors. As local politicians, we may disagree about many things, but one thing I hope we would all agree on is that we must move heaven and earth to avoid a Section 114 notice, which would have a devastating effect on our most vulnerable and on businesses and communities within BCP. A former leader of this council derided me once for just being a bookkeeper. It was meant as an insult, but I took it as a compliment, because bookkeepers balance the books. This budget not only balances 24-25, it is balanced for the next 4 years, a remarkable achievement from where we started from. This budget adds millions of pounds to our reserves rather than raiding millions of pounds from our reserves. This budget for the general fund provides a platform which BCP can thrive in the future. I recommend that Council undertakes a recorded vote as set out in the recommendations on page 131, namely to agree the net budget of £356.9 million as amended by the addendum, to agree the increase in council tax of 2.99% plus the adult social care precept of 2%, to confirm the assumptions and the provisions in Appendix 3, to agree the service allocations in Appendix 5, to agree the implementation of savings of £41 million set out in Appendix 5A as amended by the addendum, to approve the capital receipt sufficiency set out in Appendix 6, to approve the asset management plan in Appendix 8, and to agree the Treasury Management Strategy and the prudential indicators set out in paragraphs 74 to 79 and Appendix 9, and to accept and support the advice of our Chief Financial Officer. Thank you.